Another lovely day, and always look forward to this day when I have or we have a chat with our expert financial analyst, Crispin CD Daka, my resident financial analyst on this podcast. CD, always good to have you on this podcast.
Great pleasure. So humbled to be here. Favorite topic when we're talking about money and growth and things like that. All things to do with how we can leverage money to grow and have the impact out there in the market. Thank you so much,
Excellent.
RK.
Excellent. And I know that in the last couple of our podcasts, we've been, speaking about an ideal borrower, profiled how an ideal borrower should be. And in that respect, we even availed a self-assessment too to a borrower to do their own assessment before they approach the bank to do their side of the story in terms of assessing the customer. The customer can then be prepared before accessing or applying for a facility. We also looked at the bank. What does the bank go through when assessing, a borrower? And we did talk about a number of issues, the issue of risk, the processes that the bank undertakes to actually make sure that the customer is vetted to access their facility. But this time we now talk about both. And in this respect, we talk about the relationship between a customer and a bank. Even before you become a borrower, you need to establish a relationship. CD, let's zone in on this topic. Customer banker relationship. You have a number of relationships from different banks. How critical is that relationship?
Very, very critical. So like you've ably summarized it. I think because we've also had some feedback. I've had some feedback where I was saying, are you guys encouraging that people just start borrowing? No, the purpose of what we do is actually to also play a part so that we can help people not to go into what I would call dangerous borrowing. Then borrowing that takes you back, makes you a slave. The Bible says the borrower is a slave to the lender, but that is predicated on the fact that if you don't play the rules correctly, just like with fire or electricity, it can be a force for good or it can be a force for bad. So maybe just that context is very important. But like we've established, and we believe in this very, very strongly, is that if you are going to grow and sustainably grow and execute on very big opportunities, there is no way you can do it purely on your own cash, own generated cash, what we call equity investment. Yeah. It's not going to happen. That's not how the rules of business work. So we have to know how to leverage debt, because if we don't, then we can forget about having, sustainably, like we have a lot of what they call stunted businesses. You look at a business and say, how long have you been in business? And they'll tell you maybe 5 years, 10 years, or thereabout. But they've had no impact in terms of growth. The issue has been mainly because there's been no leverage where you bring in proper capital. So to grow into anything, you need to be capitalized properly. To attack big opportunities, you need to be capitalized properly. And that's where you need debt. Yeah. So your own equity is important, but debt is critical. And that's why we are very passionate about this side of things, because we believe it's an enabler for growth. And the SME sector in this country forms the biggest component of the employment provider and our value chain. In terms of impact, when we look, not in terms of generating value, but in terms of where we can have the biggest impact, it's in growing businesses, because they can grow threefold, fourfold, the issue is there is a bigger growth there, which therefore creates much more opportunities for employment for other people. And I really take my hat off to everyone who's taken the risk, risked pretty much, including their own family fortunes, just to go and start a business and run with it. That's why we are passionate about this. Yeah. So we talked about that. We talked about what it means to prepare for that. Then we're saying, look, if you have to play the game, better play it so that you play to win. So we talked about the issue of the preparation, and we also said, let's open the hood on the other side. What are they looking at so that you are able to prepare yourselves and you are ahead of the game? So now what we are looking at here is another very important aspect. The preparation. So, and then we talked about the issue of the importance of your credit history, because your credit history is just like any other asset in terms of relationship, because that is what you want to reach, a point where you've developed a very strong relationship such that the banks start following you. You remember the issue where we said, don't borrow because you have to. You need to borrow because you want to. So you can reach a point where, the banks are the ones who are following you to ask, and offer you facilities and opportunities for growth. That's a very good place to be in terms of growth. So that's what we brought up. But all this journey actually starts way before you even need to go and engage the bank that you need a facility. It starts way before that. And that's where we were talking about the issue of the bank relationship. And where does it start from? It starts from really how you are managing the bank account. So if you're going to leverage on a bank relationship, you therefore need to make sure that you manage your bank account very, very effectively, because it's one of your biggest assets. In fact, some of the information they look at is they'll ask for probably a minimum of 6 months. When you're applying, they'll say, can you please give us 6 months bank statements? What do they want that for? They want to see what they call the turnover. And the turnover that is in there, it's not the payment side. They're not worried about where you are paying. They're much more interested in how much money is coming in. How much money is coming in. So you really need to make sure that you are using the bank account almost, I would say, exclusively. Use the bank account to receive all the money, and don't have too many bank accounts where you are receiving money. Or if you do, please have one account which then sort of brings all this money together before you spend it. Yeah. So have one which is sort of your operational account. So the money could be received in so many other, because of maybe the way the business is set up. Maybe you even receive money through mobile money platforms and things like that. Please, please, please don't spend in those other. Find one place where you spend from, meaning you bring all this money into that account, and that's the account you then spend from. Why is that critical? Because then it consolidates the full scope of what your cash flows look like. And when they are analyzing your bank statements, they're not worried about the money going out. They are more interested in the money coming through. And if you can just give them that bank account, they add up the numbers. That adds significantly to the assessment of, so that cash flow which goes in there adds significantly to the your attractiveness,
Exactly.
yeah, or
Yeah.
reducing your risk, the risk, yeah.
Uh,
So,
uh, uh,
I've helped a number of growing businesses,
yeah.
especially those that receive money not directly into the bank account, but they receive it either in cash or they are paid through other platforms, like mobile money and things like that. So, and then they need stock. Instead of taking that money into the bank account, so like even from the accounting side, we say, please bank all your sales intact. Don't spend anything before you have banked it. Because if you do that, you even create a very big weakness in terms of your accounting down the line. But strictly speaking, when it comes to the issue of the bank, so you sold for 100,000 for
Yeah.
that day. And then you need to buy stock for maybe, I don't know, 50, 60, 70,000. And then from that same money, you take
That's
out
you want
and
to
you go and buy. You only go and deposit your 30 pin.
the difference. Yeah.
The bank won't see the 70. They will only see your 30.
Yes.
And that's what you're going to be judged on. So the best way would be get all that money, get the whole 100, deposit it, then spend the 70 from the other side. So that's the first part. Even before we move on to the to other, for me, this is the fundamental one that you need to have resolved. Make sure that all your inflows are banked intact, and use one bank account to bring all of these together. And then from there, then you can now take it to wherever else. So have one place where all your sales, all your revenue is going. Then you can now take it to any other place that you need to. That's the first point
Excellent.
and the most
Excellent.
fundamental when it comes to relationships with the bank.
Relationship. Excellent. And
Mhm.
I want to go back to your point where you talked about, having different, channels of receiving money. And you talked about cash, which in this particular case, you can put that cash in a wallet. There are also different wallets that we have. You've got the mobile wallet, you've got the e-wallet, mobile wallet in the sense that it can be linked with a specific mobile phone operator. E-wallet, it doesn't matter which network, you can transfer from bank to wallet. You can transfer from your own account into wallet. Those CD are not bank accounts, strictly speaking, because they are just channels of keeping money. They are like, points of storage money. People listening to us right now will be confused that when I keep money in the wallet, that's a bank account. Or I keep money in an e-wallet, that's a bank account. You just shed some light on the difference between a bank account and wallets and different types of wallets.
Oh yes, indeed. Yeah. So the difference really is that, and you're right, that that kind of money which is circulating in those the so-called wallets, the wallet might even be with FNB. It actually doesn't count. So the only bank account that they'll be looking at is the bank account where you can get one, your bank statement, and where you have your full KYC uh, uh, documentation, where everything else has been, yeah. So you can't go and print, for instance, a mobile money statement and say, no, look, can you also see that this is how? No, 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 no. They will actually look for an actual bank account. Yeah, so all these subsidiary ones, like for me, I bank with FNB, for instance. So within that, there's the issue of I've got a pocket, and I even have the e-wallet thing you talked about. So the money which circulates for me outside of the main bank account actually doesn't count. They don't include it in the analysis of what my credit rating is when they are assessing that. So that's the difference. That's why, and the beauty anyway is that now the bank to wallet or wallet to bank, I think pretty much every provider, in this case, is it MTN, Momo, and Airtel, I presume even the Zamtel one, you can now move the money,
Excellent.
like from the
Excellent.
wallet
So
into your
you were
bank
saying
account.
excellent.
Mm.
Excellent. I think that sheds a lot of clarity because there is a misunderstanding. When you have money, you keep it in the house, you can declare it as cash in hand, but it hasn't gone through the bank. The bank would not be aware about that money, or you receive money from a business transaction through e-wallet. They just become convenient collection points, just like you receive money, you receive cash, you have to deposit into the bank account. You have your money in an e-wallet. It just makes business sense for you to transfer it into a bank account so that it can form part of your business conduct. I think that is well clarified. But of course, there is another aspect in the relationship, where you have a good bank account, the conduct is good, but you're actually waiting for one relationship manager to visit you. Of course, it's their obligation to visit customers. How should the bank and the customer treat each other in this particular relationship? I mean, who should go to who? Who should make the first step?
For most of us, we should make the first step. Until you reach a point where they are the ones who are chasing you, then the tables will have turned. Okay? Then the tables will have turned. But what needs to happen is you need to be the one that is very proactive. So, especially as a founder, as an owner of a business, include as one of your responsibilities in terms of creating a relationship with your bank. Find out who the relationship manager is and have them such that you're able to give them a call and do a lot of these relationships. And for me, it's even best you reach out and say, look, and you can even get quite a lot of very variable free advice. Yeah, free advice in terms of how they can help you structure some of these deals. So when you have an opportunity, or for me, I think even on a regular basis, reach out to your bank person and say, this is what we're doing. This is how business is going. For me, even when you now hit some hard times, it's very easy to pick up a call and call a particular person and say, look, this is what has happened. I thought this would happen. This hasn't happened. Can you please assist me deal with this? They are also just human beings and they have to trust us. They have to trust us for them to put their neck on the line. Yeah. So, especially in some of these places, like, maybe you operate in Solwezi, in whatever, go and see the branch manager. Have a relationship
Yeah.
with the branch manager so that, you never know when you can actually need them. So, I always encourage uh, that we have to be very deliberate and it should be us to reach out until we reach a point where we are big, and that will come when they are the ones who are coming to us. Yeah. So that's the other leg to the whole thing. Don't just wait until you need money. That's when you go and engage with the bank. For me, engage them way, 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 way before. So that even when now the opportunity is coming, this is what we are thinking. Share with them your plans. This is what we are thinking. No, we are thinking of this, we are thinking of this, whatever. Then they might even say, you know what? Either we know somebody we can link you up to. We've had scenarios like that. I was helping a colleague that runs a bakery business, and we're talking about the upgrades to the plant and what needs to happen, and supply of equipment and where the equipment was going to be sourced. When speaking to the banker in terms of these are the plans that we have, and We are considering these people. They even said, oh, by the way, there's a supplier who is in the same market who also is a relationship. I can link you guys up. And yeah, and that ended up being a very much more stronger deal actually, and option. That so we can, I think that's very important. So, and it all comes to seeing the bank as a partner to your growth, so that you develop, just like we develop relationships with our clients. We need to have within that an opportunity to, that relationship. We need to include it as business owners, as entrepreneurs. We need to have it on our radar that we're not just selling, but we're also building these relationships as part of our network to help us develop and scale our businesses.
Excellent. And I think it speaks to on the bank side, how the bank must structure themselves, to respond to the variety of customers. I know, for example, one client of ours that we visited was pleased that the entire hierarchy in terms of the board of that organization visited his farm operations. And it was pleasing to know that the entire board was visiting this particular client of ours, who is our, as well a client of, the bank. But again, talk a little bit about how banks now are following the trend. They'll have a relationship manager specifically dealing with agribusiness. They'll have a relationship manager dealing specifically with mining sector and SMEs and so on. Why is that important? In terms of establishing focus.
Yeah, no, that's very important, and we need to play to that game. So they obviously they go
And
for
just
specialization. They
having
want
that.
a specialist.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So very critical. That's how most of them, if not all of them, are structured. They are structured so that they can group, they can have specialists who understand the specific risks that fall within a particular profile. They call them markets, but effectively it's the profile, the group of. So if we are growing businesses, of course, then there will always be a team that is dedicated. We may not have a one-on-one because of the size, but there is a group of people who are dedicated to help grow that. And their KPI is actually to identify who are the best performers, who we can then work with and develop. So if you stand out from the group and you are more proactive, you go and engage with them, yeah, then you stand a very, very good chance. In fact, there's never been a time when we have made an appointment with a bank official or whatever, and it's been denied. There's never been a time. Every time, at least they'll give you an audience. You can even go and have a chat with them. The example you gave is a very good. So it's a go-to place. You can see the whole board went to visit the project of that did not just happen now. That happened by, him developing their relationship and becoming the more, like one of the most valuable clients for the bank, such that the bank has to showcase to the people charged with governance, who are the directors, that this is the impact that we are creating. And that's what, for me, I'm waiting for a Zambian business. I want to believe that we do have Zambians who can grow to that level. It can't always just be in foreign hands, with due respect. But at the end of the day, when we look at all these big relationships, how many can we bring down to, local participation? We can see that it's very skilled. That's why we want to do this. We want to say, look, there's an opportunity here, and everybody else is leveraging it, and as Zambians, we are not. People are creating projects in Zambia, having finance structured in Zambia,
Borrowed
and
here
executing in Zambia, and taking all the value out.
out
So,
of
so for me, that's why it's very important that we look at how we can be bankable, so that we also play in the space, and there's no need to continue, like moaning about no, this and this and this and this. No, you see, it is what it is. So we need to have that
step
first
up. Yeah.
mover, and that's why for me, having that relationship of where, don't just think about the bank when you need them. No, in fact, for me, think about them throughout and as part of your partners, because that's where we're going to make sure that the scaling actually comes from.
I like what you said. I think it's consistent with what you've always said. There are countries, you give an example of Nigeria, which has billionaires in dollar terms. And there is one aspect that's interesting about that market. Um, Not to open the can of worms, but they do have a lot of indigenous Nigerian banks. That's just a fact. I mean, it's to state the fact and to state the opportunity. I don't think it's anything untoward. Your point on that one, it would be nice to see an indigenous businessman, a local businessman, taking advantage of the opportunity locally and borrowing from an indigenous bank. Your take on that, because that is an ideal situation. That's a value that 100% will remain here.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But it's never gonna be given. Like for me, the major thing here is that we have to demonstrate value to the
Yeah.
marketplace. We have to demonstrate value to the marketplace. So, and value to the marketplace doesn't choose. It doesn't say this is Zambia and this is whatever. For me, even the issue of borders is sort of irrelevant. We should just be able to say this is how the game is played, and therefore let's go in. If we are not playing in the game, what's the issue? And for me, what I've just seen is that we have sort of relegated, either we have underestimated the value of the capital that comes through in terms of these partnerships, and maybe even also we don't think big enough. We don't think big enough in terms of the kind of projects that we can bring that would be very attractive to the bankers, because for them they don't even look at where they're just looking at, if we give this person money, are we going to get it back, and are they going to afford to pay our interest? So if we can't generate that level of projects, and for me the time has never been better, because if you look at the trajectory for Zambia, and maybe even what is happening in South Africa is going to benefit Zambia, because now we've become sort of the place where it's easier to now access the rest of the region. Yeah, so we have 3 million, the 3 million target, national target for
Copper
copper.
production. Yeah.
The infrastructure that is needed to do that, the opportunity is big.
Huge. Yeah.
The opportunity is huge. When you talk about the issue of the roads, right now, if you go through the copper belt with the road that we have, at
There's
probably just
congestion.
a million tons that we have,
Under a million. Yeah.
under a million. But if you go through the copper belt, it's, in fact, from Kitwe going the other side, or even just when you're getting into Kitwe, there is big issues. Just that bypass between, is it Kapiri and Shan? Kapiri and the one that has bypassed Kapiri. I recently passed through.
Yes. It's a
What?
bypass. Yeah.
You've seen how it has unlocked value just by having that bypass. So, but now look at that, the northern circuit the opportunities that are there. So the 10,000 megawatts, that's the target
Yeah.
for electricity. I think right now, maybe, I don't know, we are around, at full capacity, we're probably around 4 or 5. So we're talking about doubling,
Yeah.
or maybe even tripling what we have now, because that's the electricity demand we're looking at. That's all part of the. If we talk about agri and agri processing, the number of like on the roads, I want to believe, like the production, the market of the raw material, in terms of even like when I was just passing through, I was seeing a lot of people who've lined the roads selling sweet potatoes, and it's heaps and heaps. And I'm even wondering, so if they don't sell all of this, where does it go? Yeah, where does it go?
Yeah.
So there's quite a lot that we can do, but using just our equity is not gonna work. So that's where we need these projects that can leverage on all this output, in terms of benefiting the growth of businesses in the Zambian market. Yeah, because I
Excellent.
think it's only Zambia Sugar. I think even the other one, maybe like officially the ones that have announced, and the rest are even foreign. The people
Yeah.
that have announced that they are a billion, there is what we call unicorns. A unicorn is a business that has a turnover of $1 billion, a billion valuation or something like that.
Excellent.
Mm.
CD, obviously, we're getting close to winding up, but I just wanted to bring in the aspect of technology and other aspects that define the customer banker relationship. There's been an emergence of technology in the recent years. We're talking about people using credit cards, debit cards, Visa, MasterCards, using mobile phone to withdraw from the bank, many other options to pay. So that physical interaction, it may not be big at that level in terms of the business, but the business transaction, there are a lot of transactions that do not require individuals to actually get into the branch to transact. A lot of development on the electronic banking platform. How is that redefining that relationship between the bank and the customer?
Yeah, no, big time, big time. And I think that's where the issue of having a deliberate, and now with technology again, even like things like Zoom, like meeting the bank. When I talked about meeting the banks, you probably don't even need to walk into the branch. You can just ask for a meeting, ask for a Zoom meeting, send a link, and things like that, and you have a meeting like this, and you can share ideas. Meaning, you don't need, so the friction of always thinking, no, I actually need to go and see the banker is completely out. But you're right. I mean, the technology has helped a great deal, you know. And this is where, if you can even make sure that you minimize on money going anywhere else, especially the revenue that comes in terms of sales, if you can find a way where you work with your bank so that you have the collection point goes straight into your bank, that is even the best way to deal with this. Because now, what I'm seeing now is that the banks are even creating a scenario where a mobile money payment can be made to a bank account. Yeah.
Yeah.
So somebody can pay by mobile money, and that actually appears in your bank account. Because of technology, all that has actually been enabled so that we can reduce a lot of these cash transactions. And for me, the value really is now you give them full visibility of your financial strength, the cash flows, the cash inflows that are coming in from you. And that helps in terms of defining and profiling you as a potential data.
Excellent. Any additions to this relationship, or what you want to say in conclusion in terms of the significance of the customer and the bank having a solid relationship so that they don't meet when someone defaults or when someone is now doing a repossession of some property, or indeed when the relationship becomes sour. Your final take on this topic.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah. No, me, I think it's one of those strategic partnerships that, as an entrepreneur, you need to take serious involvement in, and create the relationship with the bank, and invest into it, as I would say. And being proactive is actually the best way, so that when anything comes up, you are quite easily able to, you know it's about trust. And if they trust you, they'll do anything they can to help. But if you're just showing up, and that's where now they throw the whole rule book to you, they just tell you, no, we don't do this, we don't do this, we don't do this. They don't look for solutions.
Yeah.
But if you develop a trust arrangement with them, yeah, so it's a relationship. For me, I think it's a strategic partner that you need to have. One, make sure that you are managing you help them by making sure that all the things we've talked about, your books are in order, you have an active TCC, you have your incorporation in order, and everything else, so that even when they are helping, facilitating everything else, they are fully armed to defend, to help you get to the art. So I cannot overemphasize, because sometimes I get a feeling that we forget about the bank until when we need them, like you said. So, and usually then it's a bit too late, because we are maybe in a crisis and we want them to move things faster, and things just don't happen. So having that one-on-one, and with technology now, that's very easy. Just put it on your calendar, maybe once every month or every 2 months. You just reach out. Can we have a chat? I tell you what we are doing, and is there anything else, what we are planning, and things like that, sort of an update, and you develop trust that way.
Excellent. So that's a message. As you said, the bank needs the customer. The customer needs to take excess money they have to the bank, and that's the money the bank gives back to the customer who needs the money. So the bank needs the customer needs the bank. They must maintain a good working relationship. It's in that respect, CD, that in the next couple of podcasts, we'll be inviting some members from the financial sector to share with us information or knowledge about certain topics. So we're looking forward to having a conversation, eye to eye, eyeball to eyeball conversation with members of the financial sector, and hopefully in future we can invite a willing customer to talk about their experience with the bank. So CD, always good to have you on this podcast as we share expert financial information.
Great pleasure. Always a pleasure, man. So humbled to have this opportunity.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, CD. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Have an amazing one. Over and out.
Thank you. Cheers. Thank you.